Welcome to the Friendlyjordies podcast. I hope everyone's doing well.
Me too.
If you feel that Jordan's in a bad mood, it's because of his epic Richard Dawkins story. If you want to know about his
huge,
massive successes in life,
bombing experience, you have to become a patron.
Yep.
And watch the free show. Trust me,
failure.
It is the best thing in the world.
Listen, let's join up to Patreon. It's worth every penny just for that.
Yeah, it's definitely is. I'd pay for it.
Well, we said we'd go to the show if we'd known, but anyway.
All right, well, let's start with the pod.
So, don't cry for me, Argentina.
Let's move on from that. Otherwise, we'll continue to talk about this for the entire show.
We don't.
So let's
we'll try not to.
We'll restart on the uplate.
Yep.
First segment, Jordan, there's a lot of debate currently about the RBA chair.
Phillip Lowe.
I think Rob Lowe is his name.
Rob Lowe.
He's being criticized from the pollies,
the
media,
his
everywhere.
son Lowe from Lowe's Hot 30 Countdown.
Because he keeps raising interest rates. I have a very strong opinion on this.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the one.
Let me tell you.
Is it?
No.
Let me tell you that it is not going to side with the Labour government, unfortunately.
Well, how can you side? He's independent.
He is. But what I'm saying is, like, they're both idiots. But I think the politicians are slightly bigger idiots than the RBA governor at the moment.
Well, I'm very interested in hearing this very nuanced opinion on the Reserve Bank of Australia.
It is going to be...
Thank you to all the new international listeners that have tuned in because of the rousing success of the recent video on the main channel. Strap yourselves in. This is mostly what we discuss here.
Please sign up.
Not even Australian politics, the Australian Reserve Bank.
Please sign up to the Patreon for more content, more in-depth content on the Australian Reserve Bank. Particularly, have we still got that bag of gold or silver?
We do actually.
Bust it out.
Yeah, well, in trying times like this, you're all laughing about it, but that's take. Haven't I suffered enough this podcast?
Stop it. Enough.
No, I'm not stopping it.
Enough of Jordan.
No. This is.
The man suffered already.
Ali, with your Alibaba
silver,
gold.
The original Bitcoin.
No, the original Dawkins.
The original Dogecoin, dude. It's not gold. Enough. Anyways, no more payouts.
Damn you, Kramer!
Kramer, the CNBC guy, not the beloved sitcom character.
I need to transition into a really heady topic, but it's important for everyone to know this.
And you American listeners particularly.
Yeah,
actually, it applies to them
listen
too, because their Fed is doing pretty much the similar stuff.
True.
So listen. First of all, the reason why the interest rates keep going high, the rents keep going high, property prices go down, is because they want to curb inflation. I know it's a redundant and obvious thing. However, let me just start off
conspiracy
with
to that, but yes.
What causes inflation? Bring it up. But like, what causes inflation? So inflation is when you've got greater demand than supply. So the prices of everything keeps going up. So if there's a house that's worth $200,000 and there's 5 people that are willing to pay $250,000 for it, the house will no longer be $200,000. It'll keep growing, and that's your average inflation. So now, the politicians are essentially saying that we've done all the hard work. People are suffering, which they genuinely are. We know about this. People are suffering. It's now time to start bringing interest rates down again. And
now?
Yeah, now.
That's insane. That's so stupid.
Lowe is saying that we might get into a situation where the inflation rate does not go down, and then we, by our lowering the interest rates, we flood the market with more demand because people will have more expendable income, which is going to spiral inflation. So we might not be able to control it.
Yeah.
And if we, at that later stage, when we're in that spiral, it's going to be really difficult, which I think he is right.
Yeah.
However, the question is, why are we hearing so many people unable to make their rents or unable to make their mortgage payments, and yet inflation numbers go down marginally? It's because the distribution of wealth is super unequal. So what happens is that you raise the interest rates by a certain level. The people that get affected are renters, the most vulnerable, and recent property owners or people that don't have a lot of income but have bought property.
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
So they don't have enough income. Their disposable income is going down, but that's not reflecting in inflation numbers, which tells you that they're not even the big players. The big players are people that have 10 houses and they still have disposable income. So they still
Yes,
have
they
demand.
do.
So
Because they're getting a lot in rent.
Exactly, right? So that doesn't even affect them as much because they get enough in rent. And even if it's their own houses, even if they're like building properties or they're building like new suburbs where there's no rents as yet, it's still, they are betting on Australian economy. They're saying that this is a very temporary phase where eventually interest rates are going to go down, just like the politicians are already asking, and the property prices will go up and we'll make a killing. We've got enough income to withstand this initial little time period.
Can I make a point on this? And this
You may not.
Come on.
All right, just one.
And this meme says it all. I'll show it to you, but did you ever think about this, Ali? All income is disposable income if you're fun and irresponsible.
Well, that's part of the problem, actually.
So it is the poor person's problem
It is the
then.
poor person's problem.
See, you're trying to hide this because you're just trying to curtail
Read
to
the
the
meme, read the
audience
meme.
the man known for giving extremely unpopular opinions.
We're on a pod. You should have we would have put it on the thing. Anyways,
American influence. Just if you are American and you came in, that is very normal. That interaction there. just know that happens a lot.
USA, are you okay? Welcome.
Yeah.
Anyway, go on. That was my point. So go on.
So what I'm saying is, if you bring down interest rates now, Lowe is right. You're not going to be able to curb inflation. It's going to get worse, and those
it's
people
dangerously
now,
high at the moment.
Well, we're at about 6 to 7%, which is
That's
pretty
huge.
high. So a certain amount of inflation is normal. So
Yeah, but not 7%. That's way above. It should be like 2 or 3% max.
essentially, it's 2 to 3%. It's 2 to 3% because your GDP increases about 2 to 3%.
Yep.
Let's say your GDP is consistent, right? So your demand and supply are equal. If you increase every year by 2 to 3%, obviously your supply will need to increase by 2 to 3%. And that's what causes a normal level of inflation. We're sitting at 6, 7% at the moment, right? And we don't know how it's going to get down because just fixing the monetary policy or the interest rates is not having that kind of an impact.
But as the chairman of the Reserve Bank, that is the only tool that is available
First
to
of all,
him.
let's admit what a loser job that man
It's
has.
such a loser
Every
job.
month he has to come and he needs to make just one decision.
I thought you were referring to me.
0.25 up or 0.25 down or consistent. Give me $600,000 for it.
Yeah.
Where do I
Two
apply?
Two buttons. Which one do I push?
Two button. But here's the other thing, and this is the political. There's two reasons. The question is, why are so many people hurting, and somehow the solution is to make them hurt more, and it's still not having enough impact because we're not looking at two elephants in the room, and both of them are political kryptonite. Both of them have demolished governments. Number one
Is a literal elephant. Yep. We
Negative
know that.
gearing.
Yep. Yeah.
Negative gearing is causing all of this mess.
Yeah, but
That's what keeps 10 properties or 15 properties.
Yes, but that is not Labor's fault.
No, I'm not saying it's Labor's fault, but I'm saying like Labor wanted to do it with Bill Shorten, but they couldn't. So now
Yes.
they can't do it.
Yes.
So I'm saying like I'm not talking about like what's politically possible, but I'm saying where the problem lies. The perpetual demand is coming from a certain group of people that are making a killing, right? Because everything is stacked in their favor. So they'll have disposable income. And when they have disposable income, they'll keep buying properties. And if they keep buying properties, the interest rate will have to keep going up. And that's going to hurt people, the average person.
Yes.
And even if the average person is higher in numbers, in terms of investments, they're insignificant. So they're
Absolutely,
having no
yes.
impact whatsoever.
Yes.
So that's the one issue that you've got negative gearing.
And capital gains, but yes.
And capital gains, which comes with it. The other impact is, the other elephant, which is that we're getting this high demand because certain sections relating to mining are making a killing. And energy producers, energy suppliers are making a killing in Australia. Because of the Ukraine war, their profits have quadrupled. And it's not just them. It's people that work for them. They get higher bonuses and they'll buy properties. So a subsect of the Australian economy is doing really well, which is disproportionately driving up the demand, right? And obviously then you've got the property. So everything is stacked
Which is what
against you.
Keating spent 10 years trying to fix and then progressively over the last 30 years, the Liberals have stacked it back in the favour of the mining industry.
But there's no good solutions, because even if you try to do this, in the short term, it's going to be much worse for the average Joe. So if you talk about rental price increases, imagine if they got rid of negative gearing. Your rent is going to increase way more, because the investor is going to try to put that money over you. So when they have to pay a lot more money in taxes, they're going to pass that on to the average Joe who's renting properties. And that's going to have a horrible impact. However, in the long term, what's going to happen is that you'll have a more sustainable growth in the economy, where property doesn't hold every other aspect of the economy hostage. But it'll take a lot of pain, and it'll take time. So what's essentially going to happen? Everything is going to go up. Jesus. Your rent's going to go up.
It's already gone
However,
up.
property prices are going to go down. And the other aspect of this, which even if we do all of this, there's one wild card entry which might keep the demand up, which is you do all of this.
The Reserve Bank.
Everyone suffers.
You didn't think of that?
Can't explain that.
The record number of immigration is going to keep the demand high.
Oh, big Australia.
So now he finally comes around.
No.
Finally. Thank you. That's all the time we have for this segment. Ali finally admits Big Australia's not a good idea. Well, we covered some ground today.
I'm saying
he's saying it is a good idea.
Temporarily, while we go, and it's going to trigger a full-on recession if we do that.
If we do what?
To fix this issue?
If we do what? If we cut immigration?
If we get rid of negative gearing and we actually try to reform the property sector, it's going to lead to a recession. And it's going to be tough for everyone. And during that recession, we would have to make things even more difficult, which is going to face a lot of... So we're asking people to immigrate to Australia because we have a serious skill shortage. We can make a lot more money. We don't have the tools. However, in this scenario, when we're going through a recession, when we need them the most to make us money, we're going to have to tell them, no, you can't come, triggering a further recession. Because if you come, you make money, you start buying houses, and then the demand goes up, and all of this was for nothing.
No, but see, this is the bit that you're missing out on, Ali. And this is what they have deliberately tried to hide from us. But actually, recently I was talking to a town planner friend of mine. There's two parts to this. He was saying that he was at this general meeting where they had all the councillors, all the mayors, all the town planners, all the general managers in a room with the new state government, and they were talking about, obviously, because this is the mantra over the last 10 years that the Liberals have always been saying. The reason that housing is expensive is because there's not enough supply, so we need to keep building houses. And so every council now has a mandate of, I can't remember what the number was, let's just say 10,000 new homes every year in your council. You're in charge of that, you need to zone accordingly for it. And then, as a lowly town planner, my friend gets up and says, the only people that can produce 10,000 new homes every year in all of these.
Doors Plus,
well, the big four, obviously. Doors Plus,
Retrovision,
Howard's Tiles.
Retrovision.
Retrovision isn't in the building, so that's a bit silly. But yeah, like Harvey Norman, I think they have some building investments. Those guys, and then you've got your Meritons, your Multiplex. And like some other massive developers whose names escape me at the moment, they're the ones that are going to be able to do it. So really what you're saying is that you have to just approve whatever these huge apartment complex guys throw in front of you. And what's that going to do? That's going to create a monopoly on housing. And then they're going to be able to control how many houses are on the market, like I'm always saying on the main channel on Friendlyjordies, like diamonds. You have to think of it like that. It's just like, the supply is not the problem. That we have way too many houses. It's just that they are in the control of 4 big, massive companies that are foreignly owned. And then recently, I was with a developer that was saying to me, and I like this developer, by the way. They're actually a good one. It's like with town planners and councillors and stuff, there's only so much they can do in their job.
Yes.
But he's doing the good stuff. And he was just pointing out to me, and he just gets out a map, and he says, this suburb here is owned by Meriton. This suburb's owned by Multiplex. This suburb's owned by Lend-Lease. And they have all of it. And then you look at it, and it's just like, yep, you're right. That Meriton owns that suburb. And then he said, they deliberately talk to each other and keep about 50% of the houses vacant. And they do that because that just ramps up costs of houses to buy, and then that ramps up rent, and then they just sprinkle out housing accordingly to maximize their profits together. It is the biggest, saddest scam. It's that is happening there, and then in farms, the same thing's happening. There's a few massive companies like Monsanto and stuff that essentially, like, the man on the bush in Australia is more or less just a myth at this point. It's robots on the bush. They're just controlled by massive companies, so they own that, and it's all foreignly owned. We are talking about an economic transformation that happened over the last 10 years over the Liberals that was Keating-esque, but in the complete opposite way. It is all just controlled by these few monopolies now. That's why housing's going up. Now, the thing that Phillip Lowe should get blamed for, that he doesn't, he shouldn't be getting blamed for increasing interest rates. He should absolutely be doing that now. What he should be getting blamed for is during COVID, they used that as an excuse that, we need to just create 8% more money. And that 8% we're just going to give out to banks, and they're just going to get really cheap interest, and then that's just going to ramp up prices because they're just going to give that out to home loans and say, yeah, you can get that. That's fine. You only have a 2% interest rate. Why not? And so that was that massive 30% increase in housing that we saw. That's where all of that money went. It was because of that cheap credit that the banks were given that ramped up that prices. So you've got those two competing things that are happening. Now that Phillip Lowe is in this position, that's all he can do. But like when he did that was truly evil and diabolical. And Michael West was pointing it out at the time that this is what's going to happen. And here we are now. And as Ali's saying, there's nothing you can do about it at this point. The housing economy is too captured.
This is why, like, and you're gonna call me, like, people would call you a communist for this reason, but this is why the demand and supply model is not working, because the assumption is that there's a finite amount of demand and there'll be a finite amount of supply, and we can somewhere meet in the middle. The problem is we have infinite demand because the demand just multiplies itself. The one house you get, two houses you get, you make more money.
Yeah.
So if there was a house,
cap. Is there a cap?
If there's a no, there's no cap. If there was a house, if there's a town,
that's why people are always saying that they expect there to be some correction in the market. Not really. Like even if you're talking about there being a correction of a 20% drop, housing still went up 30% in one of the most expensive housing markets on earth. There's no bubble burst of it like going. It's just artificially kept up and will be like that forever, I think.
Dude, ideally what they need to do is tax property finally.
Yes.
And once you tax
a vacancy
property,
tax. A vacancy tax would fix it.
Vacancy tax, but also just get rid of negative gearing.
Yeah, but this is the problem.
A huge incentive for people to keep multiplying their properties.
Yes, but now everybody's just going to be like, well, it's like you had your chance. You had your chance in 2019. Bill Shorten went to the election with that, and then as usual, the press just sat there and bitched about how it's not going far enough. Didn't say anything about the Liberals keeping negative gearing and capital gains, and you had the Greens saying exactly the same thing because that's all they do. They just focus in on one thing that Labor does, and then they just say it's not far enough ever. But as you said, if you corrected that at that point, that would have been a huge problem solver now. But now that they've gone to that election and then that's fresh in everyone's memory, this is what happens in elections. You go to elections and you lose the mandate, and then you've realised you cannot win that argument. You can't convince it. And now, what do you see the press doing? They're all hitting Phillip Lowe for increasing interest rates. Why are they hitting Phillip Lowe for that?
Because their mortgages are going up.
Because their mortgages are going up. That's why they care about it. That's the only reason they're saying get rid of Phillip Lowe.
Because it's kind of affecting the middle class as well now. But here's another opinion. We live in this like economic dogma where we think things can happen only one time. If there's a recession, obviously the monetary policy has to deal with it. What essentially the monetary policy is, it's your housing market. That's what it is. Why do we have to curb inflation just by affecting housing prices? Why don't we do it? Because it disproportionately affects poor. We know that.
Yeah.
So why don't we try to curb inflation by raising income tax of the f***ers that are doing this, right? So really rich people and poor people get exemption. You make money because that's going to hurt them. Once that happens, then they're not going to be able to buy 15 houses. They might have to buy 14, God forbid. And once that happens,
hold the horse.
Government gets money. Government gets more tax money. This solves some of your deficit issues.
Yes.
You spend that money, you can, maybe Liberals are going to go against it, but you can actually spend some of that money for small things like, a lot of things get noticed, like there's a lot of people in Australia now that have housing that are in vulnerable areas, whether it be flooding, bushfires, and their insurance premiums are going off the rail now. Where the drop of insurance levels is crazy because they can't afford it.
Or they're just not letting, they're not even giving insurance.
They're not even giving insurance. Well, they might, but at like a really high rate where it's not viable anymore.
Yeah, but
so people are taking the risk, which is a dumb move because it's progressively going to get more and more frequent. And we just know that this is happening.
Yes.
So how about the world is on fire? Maybe we can't fix it, but can we at least make it slightly more bearable for the people that are left behind? So you can use some of that money, curb inflation, and help the most vulnerable. And they're not going to drive up inflation, contrary to popular belief. If you give money to poor people, they don't buy these expensive properties. They're barely making their ends meet anyways. So it's not going to affect your inflation as much.
That is the solution.
Yeah.
I remain pessimistic that it's not going to work,
I'm
though.
on board. Why not?
Well, it would work. It's
In
just,
theory.
but the thing is, you really need to understand that over the last 10 years, because of the Liberals just stacking the housing market like that, and you can see it, just like it went up, I think, 15% when Labor was in, or something low like that, and then it goes into the Liberal time, and then housing doubles in just 10 years, right? So stacking it that way. Now, because of that, the lobbying power that the housing industry has, and I've talked to many housing economists about this, and they think that it actually outstrips the mining industry in this country. There are certain industries that you just cannot go against in this country and maintain government. It's not going to happen, especially when you're on a margin of 1 seat. You will get kicked out immediately, and the Liberals would be licking their lips if there was any correction. The only saving grace is if it gets so bad, and let's be honest, we aren't there yet, but if it gets so bad, it might end up being like Canada, where Trudeau actually did put in a vacancy tax and stop foreign ownership.
Shit,
and
really?
that has actually corrected their housing market.
Wow, I didn't know that.
And
yes, and but
someone's
it can
gotta
happen.
spend
But the thing
a lot
is,
of political capital.
Exactly,
For it.
it's risky, and you can't do it until everyone's on page and everyone understands that, and that takes a long time, and there has to be a lot of suffering.
Hey, what do you think about this? This is going to be really communist. I'm not suggesting that do it, but I think it's a good idea.
Just call it Marxist, not
you know,
communist.
like Marxist. So,
Okay.
I honestly think
It's lighter, you know? Communist is a heavy word.
we should look at doing a little bit, and here's the danger word. We've got to combine the Chinese and the UAE model together a little bit, and I think it will do us wonders. So the Chinese...
I didn't know that Ali was a communist.
Unbelievable.
The Chinese have, with all their flaws, they have one thing, which is that all of their private enterprises, which are multi-billion-dollar corporations, have a huge state representation. Right? So state... the
In an ideal world.
In an ideal world, but just listen to me. I'm not saying that you do this. I'm just putting an idea out there. If you... And the UAE model is, you know, UAE is like, they're oil-rich Arabs that don't have a lot of business sense, but they're new businesses, like things like Emirates Airlines, even like these Premier League football teams like Manchester City, they're doing amazingly well. And so there was a big question is like, how are these guys doing it? They have no competence of business. And this is how they do it. They do two things. First, they do patient and long-term investment. And they do huge investments. They can do it because they've got oil money. However, it's still, they put in a lot of money, they wait for the results, and they make no management decisions whatsoever, even though they've put the money. They hire competent people, and they say, I am not even going to tell you a little bit of how you're supposed to do it. You do it completely by yourself. However, I have a certain amount of stake in the company. So if God forbid, if Australia invests money into the private sector, not in their management. So I'm not saying that bureaucrats are running private companies. It's being run by the private sector themselves. However, the state has a certain amount of shares in it. And we don't tell them. And so if we want, let's say, if energy companies are spending money on transitional gas power projects, as opposed to solar and wind, which is required by the world and the public, what we can do as the government at that point is, we can't force you to do this. However, we're going to withdraw our investments from this, and we're going to put it into wind and solar energy. And they're going to say, that's a stupid move. You're not going to make any money out of it. As the government, we can say, we don't care. And once that huge chunk of money follows, so will these.
Exactly.
But we can't do it. This is a pretty
No. But like,
dystopian
yes,
world.
no, but he's right. It's just
State
that's the
companies.
answer. It's just what can you do?
Yeah.
This is the whole thing. It's just once power is concentrated in a certain place, it doesn't relinquish. It takes generational
I
transformation.
know, but I don't think that's
or
I don't get,
or the system is eating itself up to an extent where things become necessary to change.
but I don't think
That's when
Yes.
Australia will do all of this. When
Of
the
course.
situation, if and when
Becomes
the
so
situation gets
untenable.
so untenable that the ruling elite says, "All right, let's work around this."
But I don't think the private. It has to be like the companies have to have like state representation. You can push things in a certain way. It doesn't have to be that drastic. Like it literally can be vacant housing tax, like decentivize having 20 houses. Like there's little things you can do.
Yes, but the thing is, as Ali's saying, it's on a cycle.
Yeah, but you can break the cycle.
You can that's part of the cycle. Like you putting in those taxes,
Right.
it will be there, and then the government will come in, and then they'll get rid of those taxes,
Well,
and the cycle
if the
continues.
libs get in, you mean?
Yeah, which will happen.
What do you think the next election?
Not next election, but they'll get in.
Right. It's just cyclical.
Probably the next 2 or 3 terms we're safe, but
Yeah, but you think it's cyclical. So it'll just get in
Ali's
and
thinking about that would correct the problem permanently, but
But it requires a huge amount of sacrifice from
and
everyone.
it's just look, that shit wasn't flying in the 70s, let alone now.
but
And this is
either
the other
way-
thing, Ali. Like, look, I know you love Big Australia, but honestly, this is the whole thing that corporations have figured out. The more immigrants that you just pump into Australia, the more, first off, that they're just used to shit living conditions and they're just able to put up with this stuff anyway. But the second thing is, you have ready-made labour that you can just jam in and replace the local population with and keep the machine pumping.
Right.
These
is
are all
all part of
temporary
it.
fixes. It's like when the balloon bursts, you put a Band-Aid on it, right?
Yeah.
And it does fix the problem temporarily, but then there's going to be a leak because the balloon's like kind of corroding a little bit.
Yeah.
So you've got to like remake it.
So does Labor have a plan? Or
Public housing, that's their move. And then they've also got something else that I'm
What,
not
fucking
allowed to talk
housos?
about, and I'm just going to pretend. But
Housos
This
is
is
their
the whole,
fucking
there was a point in time, and the thing is, public housing gets a bad rap because of housos here, and it was just for the bottom of the bottom. But in Singapore, for instance, most people are in housing
Really?
commission. Pretty
In
much. Like, it's just
Singapore?
publicly built housing.
Really?
Yeah, and
Massive
their
economy.
publicly built houses, their lowest quality is better than the stuff you pay $1 million for.
In fact, you know
That's
one-
interesting.
Another cool thing about Singapore, not only do they just have public houses, but they have this crazy policy where because you know they've got like the mix of Chinese, Indians,
Yeah.
and so what they've done is they've put quotas at all apartment buildings, and it's distributed dependent on the population. So if there's 60% Chinese in the country, whether it be
Yeah.
really expensive or really
It's a
cheap,
mix, it's a mix.
60% needs to be Chinese, 30% needs to be Indians,
Yeah.
10% needs to be whatever.
And it stops ghettoization.
It stops ghettoization.
that's smart.
And it creates that unity because they
Social
have a
cohesion.
history of fighting with each other. So
Yes.
they've worked out solutions
Yes.
to like,
That's interesting.
can we not do that?
See, but again, Mislav, this would all require a dictator.
Yeah.
It
Well-
requires a curtailing of your freedoms.
Yeah, it's-
Can you live with that?
Yeah, that's the question. But I mean, Singapore's a very capitalist. It's like the capitalist wonderland of the region.
But see,
like-
this is the whole thing.
so are they a
but-
dictatorship? I mean,
Yeah, pretty much.
Really?
Yeah.
You would call that a dictator?
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
an
Look, but this is the whole thing.
authoritarian
Like, look, if you want to have
democracy.
capitalism, you can. That's fine. But you need to still have a very strong government at the
Yeah.
top saying,
yeah.
no, like
There has to
these
be-
things need to be in place.
Otherwise, it's just like the free market of it's just completely random, right? It's like, whoa, it's moving here. Whoa, now it's
well,
doing
it's not.
this.
It's not random. But it's
Well,
just like if
But it's being designed by private
by private entities,
Yeah.
which is what you get now, which is
That's
just
not good.
a completely unaffordable housing.
And it's unfair because it
Yeah.
leaves the burden of fixing all of the mistakes of the rich on the poorest. It's literally the poorer you are,
Yeah.
the more you have to sacrifice in
Yeah.
order to fix the solution
Yeah.
created by people that have to face the least amount of trouble for it.
Yeah.
It's just fundamentally unfair.
Sounds like where Australia sounds like libertarian as fuck right now. And in a bad way. I don't mean that in a good way. In a way of like, Australia, brought to you by Macca's, you know?
yeah, well, that's pretty much it. But see, this is the whole thing. You can't just forget the last 10 years and use the Liberal Party talking point of, you've got a new government now, you have to fix all this.
No, I understand that.
These things take decades to fix.
Yeah, this was
by design.
And once they go this far, it takes like much longer.
Yes,
So like I always give this example. When Kevin Rudd was the policy planner for Queensland, after Joe Bjelke-Petersen was in and he just screwed up the state that much, and he was in for 30 years or whatever, they're still trying to get the state back to normal now. Once it's entrenched, that's the hard bit to get rid of. Like, it's very easy to set the system up like that, and it's really hard to bring it back. After.
Because these
not
policies,
switching a light.
These policies,
like when Ali's saying all of this stuff, even if you did it tomorrow, like you'd see the ramifications years down the track.
And like all of these, actually, they're not even Scott Morrison's fault or Malcolm Turnbull's. These are like John Howard's policies.
Yeah.
That are continuing. So these have long repercussions, which is why, like, if what I'm saying, it will trigger a recession. For the next 3 to 4 years, life is going to be. But the problem is, like, you've got to look beyond just the medium and short term. In 10 years' time, it will pay you dividends. It will pay you dividends in the sense that we'll have a more equitable society where people will buy houses dependent on their needs as opposed to just to live in. Yeah. And right now, if you want to get a house to live in, you are, after renting, in the worst position. If you are in Australia and you have this ability to be able to buy property without having to live in that property, you are a king in every which way. You get tax benefits, you get equity to keep buying more properties. You buy your first one, your next one, and then the third one isn't going to be one house, it's going to be 2 houses. And the one after that is going to be 4 houses. So you're just going to keep multiplying it. All of it tax-free. And they always say, well, if you cash it, then you're going to have to pay tax. Yeah, but like, who the hell cashes $50 billion? It just gets passed on to the next dip that person brought out from their penis. So it just stays there.
Yes.
And we're just like, yeah, well, you can keep making it. You know, that's the game. You won Monopoly.
Is this what America's like? Is it the same?
No, they don't actually have the same housing problems we have.
Why is that?
I'm not particularly sure why. I don't know, but I just, they've got other monopolies.
Yeah.
But housing isn't such a stranglehold. But honestly, it has gotten to the point.
Hey,
this is insane.
I've got to take a little break. I'm sorry. 1 second. You guys continue.
And we all know what that is.
And
there we go. He's walking right into. Oh no! He's taking a call. Yeah, taking care of business. Go, Ali. I thought he was taking care of business on the other end.
Ironically, he's just checking his 4th house, see how it's going. You know. He's got his real estate.
You're getting screwed over anyway. Yeah, thanks for your address. See you next week.
See you next week. We're like, hey, your tenants don't want to go with the extra 100 a week. Kick them out. Me, I'm trying to make money here. I'm trying to make a living.
Well, I think we all know what time it is then.
You don't want him to be the spectator?
I do want him to be the spectator.
He'll be back in a jiffy.
Everybody listening,
hey, when we
please wait for the next segment.
And when we do,
you will not regret it.
Can I sit in that seat because then you can go close up on me?
Absolutely, you can. You've earned it, my friend.
No, we can switch back. It's just that it'll be a good shot.
Oh yeah.
And we need it. Stick around for a very esoteric skit that no one will know the reference of, and that will inevitably boost the profile of a man that does not need or deserve that boost. I reckon we wait till Ali because then it'll go into it. But if he's ages, we can. But yeah, okay.
All right, we're putting down a 5-minute count.
5 minutes, yeah.
And he can sit there, I think, changing to yet another Pakistani phone provider. Sure.
By the way, just to change the topic, maybe you should show them on the thing, but like I've been staring at that book this whole time and I've just been periodically laughing. I just can't hold it together. Looking at each face more stupid than the last. That'll have to be a segment for another time, but...
Well, Miss, can you get a close-up on me now and I will show them?
Yep. Hold on. You're on.
And I do apologise because I am well aware that 3/4 of you listen to this podcast, as you should.
Yeah, sorry about that.
But you will have to bear through just one more visual, which I don't even think they're going to see from there. But if you can, please just focus on this man here. Mislav has a large book of musicians.
Here, pass it. I'll push it closer.
There you go.
Sorry, I even screwed up the camera.
Go to the other. No, I did that.
Oh, you did that?
There is a man, for everybody knowing, with an ungodly kept beard. It's so well kept. That guy right there, with that level of plastic surgery that Bill Burr described as you have two options when you hit 70. You can either look like a 70-year-old or you can look like a space lizard. He chose the space lizard option.
Oh, I pointed to yeah, I showed both of them, but this is I think this will be a segment for, maybe you should read one out. I don't know, we've got this book that Jordan was helping me move. Yeah. And Jordan, being the comedian, saw one of my books and was just like, "What? Look at this man's face," and then look at this man's face, and and I couldn't stop laughing. So I don't know. We'll workshop it maybe, but like I feel like that could be the new Bible, because each page is just another eccentric musician's face going. And then like what they like about music. I mean, that's content for days. There's like 200 pages there.
Oh yeah, like we've got ourselves another James Curdy Bible edition.
Yeah.
I don't know, is there any Bibles that have the third? We're into Mormonism at this stage. We have
Yeah.
a third Bible.
We've got Curly somewhere in there too. We've just lost it, but we can do that as well. You know.
Yeah, we are very respectful to our religion here. The religion of, who was it again? The guy from American Pie.
Stifler.
Oh,
Yes,
that's right.
There's a lot of
that's
deep
right.
lore here that even we've forgotten.
Shout out FBI days.
Now
Now
Mislav,
it's time.
please assume your position.
I'm gonna introduce.
Taking on the throne.
Should we switch? I'm gonna introduce the next segment.
Ali,
Yeah.
I think you know which camera to switch it to. Camera number 1.
This is very. I don't even know if I'm gonna do this right for how Jordan wanted it.
This is the introduction to a segment,
To
so
a segment.
stick around with us. Mislav has in front of him chili oil,
Can you hear me?
several chilies.
Wait, are these on?
Varying heat.
These aren't working.
You don't need it.
But they're not working. I'm just curious.
Okay, well, we'll
I'm
focus
asking
on
the
that later.
question. Okay,
get
fine.
this one
Okay, let's. Okay,
I don't know why the beanie was so needed, but
because
he
this is a shout out to the duet boomer.
It's like wearing green on a green screen. All
So
of a
this
sudden,
is-
Mislav has 3/4 of a head.
So this is a shout out to the Instagram page duet boomer, a man who doesn't need the. But anyway, Ali, the next segment we should get it going because
It's called.
it's called. Which one does he start with again? Yeah, that's right.
Well, it doesn't need to be that.
Oh no, it does for me. A red chili and some Mama chili oil.
What are we doing?
Oh. A green chili and some Mama chili oil. Oh. An ancho chili and some Mama chili oil.
Just so you know, he's got 2 more to go.
How did I leave for 5 minutes and this happened?
His face is getting red.
And some chili pepper and some marmalade chili oil. Oh,
You have to appreciate his commitment. He's progressively hotter. He's gone for the last one. As we all know, small chilies pack the biggest
and
punch.
a bird's eye chili and some marmalade chili oil. No.
Oh my god, that's hot.
Ooh. Mm. Oh. Ooh.
Going from
What
the
is
housing
going
market to
on?
that.
What is going on? Why are we doing this? Why are you willing to do this as well, Miss?
I'm not. Now drop change to the.
Wait, it
Photo
just,
I
at least
sent you.
eat. Well, yeah, at least I'll put that up. But
No, he doesn't swallow.
The reason
Okay.
he's so
He doesn't
aggressive
swallow.
because- Miss, you okay? He doesn't see this. He's got to go for the
He
bag.
doesn't swallow.
Oh, really?
Oh my god.
He's had it all out.
No. No. I'd eat it, but he doesn't even do it. So. So, it's so hot. So,
Am I playing the video as well?
Such a send-up.
So that was the photo. No, that's after.
Just so everyone knows. What came up on screen was a photo of Mislav Belabragic with the drummer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
You want to
We
swap
all
back?
met our heroes this week. Me, Dawkins, him.
Yeah. So
A
that was
guy that I think is a replacement to an original drummer.
So that was a segment introduction because to bring it over to you, Ali, I met the drummer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, and they were, Chili Peppers. So I.
It all makes sense now. Why did I question anything?
So I met him. It's so hot.
I was hoping this. When we were thinking about this, I was hoping that he had to tell this story with a burning mouth.
Well, there's like 10 chilies there. So
Well, in homage to the Red Hot Chili
this is the duet boomer suffers for his art. Really does. So so dude, get the photo up again. So
in case you forgot. Everyone just know, this is Mislav's long-lost dad. God, they look similar. Look at a picture.
So I was walking down. Do you recognize that guy?
No, but I know who he is.
So I was at the pub and I was having a beer with a bunch of 20-year-olds, and then they were like, I was standing there, friends of friends. I barely knew them, and I was staring at someone playing pool, and I was like, That's the drummer of the Red Hot Chili Peppers. And then because they're all Zoomers, they're like, ha ha ha, yeah. And that's James Brown. And I'm just like,
And it was James Brown. That was
coincidence. But basically, I couldn't be bothered to like attend their whims, so I just ignored them. I was like, very silly. Anyway, I don't really care about the Chili Peppers that much anymore. But like, so I was like, that's wild. But I just stared at him. I was just like, damn. I'm all having these kind of like epiphanies of like, he might be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I might not be, but he's still standing on the ground like me. He pumps more durries than me, and he's belted like any other cunt in the pub or man in Newtown. So, he's pumping durries all night, just like smashing them or whatever. And then basically they're all just like, oh my, they Google it and they're like, oh my God, it's true. And then they all start freaking out. I'm just like, amateurs. And basically, God, that Mama Lizard Cheerio is intense. But so basically, I drum up the courage to be like, hey man, how's it going? Just wanted to let you know, the first show I ever went to was a Red Hot Chili Peppers show in like, I don't know, year 8 or 9 for the By the Way tour, And he was just like pumping and durring, he's like, yeah, it's crazy. And I was like, yeah, I know. And he's just
exactly what Mislav would say in that situation.
And he goes, it must have been like 20 years ago. And I was like, probably, yeah, it was ages ago. Yeah, I was like in the state, like sitting, I could barely see you. I was in the stadium. He's just like, right on. And then I was like, at that point making small talk. I'm like, so you like playing a show here or something? He's like, yeah, Thursday and Friday. And I was just like, cool. Then we played pool for a while. Shut the
way.
Yeah. Played pool for a while.
An understatement.
Dude, how is your story of this so much better than Dawkins and Jordan?
This is just me at the pub. And you know the crazy thing is, Ali? This happened like a month ago. I just forgot.
What the fuck are you doing?
I just forgot.
What?
I forgot to mention
you played pool with the Red Hot Chili Peppers drummer, and you were like, oh yeah, I forgot.
I forgot to mention
you've been telling us all about brioche buns and
and red chili. But so like, yeah. And anyway, so like, yeah, we shot the and then like, after a while I was like, well, Chad, it's been great, but like one of us has to leave. So I bailed on Chad. And you know what's the clincher of the story? I left and I was like, there he goes, Chad Smith. Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. One of the biggest rock stars in the world. I'll never forget this day. Anyway.
And then you forgot about it.
No. Well, I did forget. But the crazy...
Dubbo.
But the crazy thing is... Fuck. The crazy thing is...
Oh my God, you're so hot.
The crazy thing is that... and I'm not wasting those. I'm taking them home. But the crazy thing is... that so I was like, I'll never see him again. That's unbelievable. Like 5 days later or 4 days later, I was... Because I was still living around Enmore then. And I was walking home with some mates. And then they all went home. And I was like, see ya. And it was like 3 a.m. I'm like, I got to go to sleep. Like, even the kebab shops were closed. And I was just walking. Chad Smith pumping a ciggy at the front of a different pub. And then I was just like, hey, man.
The other pub the last 5 days.
Yeah, just a different pub. And he's just like, how's it going? I'm just like, yeah, good, man. I'm like, dude, you're like... What, like a good mate now, Chad Smith? And I just can't help but think of the Simpsons meme. And I actually took a photo of him on my Instagram and put a still of the Simpsons episode. And it was, I just couldn't not think of it. It's just like, Chad Smith still here? Chad Smith never left. It's just hanging out in Enmore for a week, pumping so many ciggies, just like pumping darts in his Nikes. And so I was just kind of like, look, Chad, I'm really tired. Like, I know that you're selling out stadiums upon stadiums. And I know people would probably camp out to talk to you for one more minute. But like, what the hell else have we got to say to each other? You know, I used to like you a lot when I was younger. You're a pretty good drummer. I said that I seen you before. Like, I guess I could ask you about like how John Frusciante gets his guitar tones. But like, I'm not that into the Chili's anymore. So like, see ya. I'm going to see if the kebab shop's open.
Shit.
The kebab was more interesting.
Yeah, you.
And it was closed, but then I just went.
And you didn't go back.
Well, what the hell am I? No, I didn't. I'm like, oh, he'll probably be here next week. And then
goes home, he's in the room. So
and
you
then
got a lighter, man.
And then at some point, I think
You
the
could have
night.
asked him to come on this pod.
Damn
Nah,
it!
it's not in Newtown.
Damn it!
He wouldn't go. It's
Nah,
not-
dude, I'm such an idiot.
Well,
well, that was obvious before you mentioned it.
Nah, dude, come on. Nah, he probably would have done it, dude.
yeah, for sure.
He would have done it because he's like, no one, dude. When I was
Because he knows, like, if that picture was there, he knows that you're his long lost son.
the picture is pretty good. Did the audience see the picture?
Yeah.
Pretty funny.
So
Pretty funny.
Looks more similar to you than your dad, and your dad, as we said before, you weren't born. You were just scraped off his back and put in a test tube. But I think they must have accidentally mixed it up somehow in the test tube.
Yeah, with
process.
him, it's so.
And
It was.
so he wanted to get to know you more.
But
not
No.
a fan.
It was-
not a fan of your own dad.
it was just so weird to like do that thing where like, you know, I'm hanging with a multi-millionaire. I felt richer than him. You know what I mean? I still got my youth. I'm not addicted to ciggies.
Yeah, but various women in their 20s were hitting on him the entire time.
No, he was hitting on one girl who was much younger than him.
All right, well, various is a bit of an understatement.
Yeah, no, and there's a couple of like.
Pretty depressing to know that you can be of one of the most relevant and recognized bands of all time.
No,
and then you get
I
one
had to,
chick at the bar.
yeah, and I had to like make the effort. Like, no one else was really talking to him. I was like, Chad, it's crazy, dude. TikTok's ruined fame.
Wait,
Doesn't matter anymore.
What about the video that you were supposed to play? What's that?
That's for a different segment.
Okay.
Yeah, we got a lot of segments. Anyway, that's that.
That was a really good one.
Isn't that incredible?
Did you guys like that? Do you want to sit back here? I feel like you should. This is your throne.
Well, if you want, we'll take positions, but
He didn't even resist. He's like, well, it is my throne.
It's your throne. This was in case I spew.
Well, look,
Well,
are
that's
you-
not positioned in the right place, but I appreciate the, as usual, effort, I guess.
All right, well, let's move on with the next segment, which is also related to Mislav.
Oh, is it?
Oh, should we? Well, then maybe we should just break it up with this because I want to start asking the
Yeah, break
audience
it up, break it
questions
up.
first before
Yeah,
we get
yeah,
into that.
do that,
Because
do that.
all of this father-son bonding with, yes,
yes.
it got me in a mood, and so I started talking to my dad. And he had to sign some documents for me. And he was bored, and we were walking past one of those, I can't remember what they're called, like an arcade. You know those places where there's pretty much just nail salons, a sushi place that you do not want to go to.
That's an arcade.
That's an arcade.
And I've been to those, yeah.
Concrete floor with that 90s pebbles in it still. No one's cleaned it since. And I was saying, wow, this place is sad. And then my dad says, yeah, I think I'm going to go to that acupuncturist in there. And I said, okay, that's great. You go do that then. He goes, yeah. I have to buy some underwear first. It's like, what are you talking about? He was like, I'm free balling. He was wearing jeans. And then I said, you're commando at the moment. And he said, I've been commando for the last 30 years. And this man only has jeans.
Oh, I don't want to
He's
know.
getting his dad dick right up in the zippers. Clip every day. And you know what I said? I said, isn't that uncomfortable? He said, quote, you get used to it. And I said, why, Dad? Why?
It's insane.
Why put yourself through all this pain?
Wait for the reason.
You ready for this, Ali?
I want to watch the reaction, actually.
He said, because I realize underwear is a scam. What scam,
That's
Dad?
a man
No,
from
that's
Dubbo.
not even it. That's not even it.
What scam?
How's the scam?
The scam is, did you know this, Ali, that underwear costs money?
Too expensive.
And I was thinking about that. I said, dude, I said, you're like getting, like, people that get out of the clothes bin, like St. Vincent de Paul, they have underwear. Like the homeless man that we just walked past with a big issue. There's no way he's freeballing
No
right
way.
now. He
No
has
way.
that underwear on.
Yeah.
And then he said,
bait.
yeah, well, they'd be a lot richer if they didn't. And I was just like, dude, it's like $5. It's $5 at Kmart.
$5
and
for
like
5 years.
Yeah, and most dads, I get it. They keep there and the elastic wears out and then they put the rubber band around it. I can deal with that level of cheapness. But then it suddenly hit me all throughout my life. That sponge story that everyone is so sick of in this podcast, it all made sense. There's a reason that his nickname amongst his friends is Tight-Arse Terry.
Amazing.
I gotta know.
Yeah.
I have to know. Guys, let us know in the community comments or the comments below the biggest tight-arse you know. We're going to be reading out the comments next podcast, and I can't
There'll be
wait.
some good ones.
Because then I just realized, like I was sitting there and I was thinking, maybe I've just lived in the eastern suburbs for too long and everyone's dad just looks like a slight shorter or taller variation of Malcolm Turnbull. And then no, but that's not Australia. Australia is the man here now just being like, parking? No, I'll just park in Redfern and I'll walk. That's Australia. They're going to have some cheap ideas.
Hell yeah.
Is that just country Australia?
Dude, my dad doesn't.
There's a thin line between country Australia and suburban Australia.
Dude,
well,
my-
there was until your family moved in.
Dude, my dad now refuses to go out for coffees because it's like $4.50, not on my watch. Just come to
But
my
that
house.
makes sense. That's
you
just
can't-
saving money.
That's
That's
apples and
okay,
oranges.
okay,
You
it's
can't
fair.
say
like
like.
underwear is $4.50 and you can wear it for 10
That's
years.
fair. That's fair. That's fair.
And also, I feel like underwear falls into the need category.
You really
It's
think
not
so?
optional.
I don't like the feeling of free balling. I feel really exposed to the yellow. What if there's like a terrorist attack? They're like, take off your pants. You'd be like, no. Take them off. Like, it'd be a laughing stock.
Yeah, exactly. And if you take them off, they'll just like, oh, it's a homosexual. Kill him anyway.
Exactly. If this is you're playing with fire, and he's played with fire for 30 years
And gotten away with it. He's so lucky he didn't walk into lint, I'll tell you that.
How the man Monis, Ali's favorite man, would not have approved.
It's not my favorite man.
I just can't believe.
Hasn't been long enough for him to be my favorite man.
Like, what? How has he not had the something about Mary incident once?
Oh, I'm sure he has. I think he just powers through because that embarrassment isn't worth the price of underwear.
Your
This is a man
reproductive
who
organ.
drives around in a BMW convertible.
Yeah, that's him. Hey, you got that?
and by the
you
way-
just fell into his lap, Ali. He sacrificed for that.
Hold
You got
on
to
a
say
minute.
this, Ali. He deserved that BMW.
Yes, he
Bro,
does.
he did. And I want to, before I paint this picture that his dad is some rich man driving around this plush BMW, it's an old fucking
It's a classic.
the one that breaks down.
Vintage?
And I
Vintage?
asked him.
What year?
I wouldn't go that far.
I asked him. It's not vintage. It's the cheapest one.
Shit.
It's in the 2000, early 2000, late 90s category. And so, like, I asked him, I was like, oh, this car is kind of old. Does it break down often? And he was like, well, that's why you got to know a little bit about it.
Dude, I think dads, especially Jordan's dad, relishes in breaking because then you can fix shit right up. It's like, you know, I kind of get it, but I don't have the patience to fix anything. But I get like that like reward of fixing stuff. But like my dad does that. Like my dad I was like, I need a bike.
It's not a reward, it's a need when you've got an old clunky BMW.
Well, like my
It
dad
looks great, but I can tell it's probably riddled
Dude, I've
with
seen him.
issues.
I've seen him fixing his bike. I've seen him. Didn't he slice off his finger?
Yeah, and kept going, kept fixing. Straight after that, he's still got 7 fingers left.
I asked him. I was just like, "Did you go to the hospital?" He's like, "Nah." I'm like, "Did it hurt?" He's like, "Yeah, there's not much feeling left. Just wrapped it up." Like, what?
He's stoic. Hey, when we were moving out after the burnt down house, Miss was helping him move stuff out. This is an Aussie builder. Walks in. There's a massive sign saying
Unbelievable.
warning
Unbelievable.
asbestos on the sign. He walks in, no mask or anything. He's like, come on in, miss. He's like, are you sure this is safe? He's like, yeah, it's probably just a warning sign.
Yeah.
Walks in, picks up a plank
Sheet.
of wood.
A
Sheet.
sheet of wall that has been exposed and very likely asbestos filling the room.
Snaps it in half.
Yep.
Asbestos flies everywhere. Dad takes a sniff. Sniffs it. Goes, yeah, there's asbestos in here.
No.
Still no need for a mask.
No,
though.
he goes, I don't reckon it's asbestos. And I go, what are you basing that on? He goes, just doesn't feel like it. Doesn't look like it. Keep in mind. Keep in mind.
forensics officers in there.
Listen. Keep in mind, as I got to the house, there was the man that did the, the insurance guy.
Yeah.
He was some big Irish guy. He looked like he should have been in a mine, an Irish guy. He was at that tree in front of your house, nowhere fucking near the house. Double industrial mask. He looked like he was about to go in a nuclear reactor. He's outside, and he's just like, right, well, I'll be, I'll get back to you on the information on how it's going. Obviously, you have to survey first. He was looking very worried about the asbestos. Your dad's cracking sheets and just, well, it's not a pizza. We can switch that, tick that off the list. What? I was in a mask. And then after a while, I felt like a wimp, so I stopped going in with the mask. You know what I did? Truth be told, and I didn't even. You know what I actually did? I held my breath. I went. Terry was like, "Come on." I was like, "Yeah, man, yeah, let's do it, Terry, let's do it." And I swear to God, I was like, and then he was just like, "Right, lift." I'm just like, lift. I'm like, and then I got out. I was like, and then we got it out. And I'm like, no, we got it. That's what I did because I didn't want to look like a truth.
And good move. I would have done the same, honestly.
Because he looked at my mask and was like, bitch, pathetic. And I'm just like, you know what? I am pathetic. You're breathing it in. You want to die.
You got to.
You know what-
he's a hard man.
You know what he actually said too?
What?
I was like, what if it's asbestos outside? And he goes, my lungs are already. And I was like, so what? You're just gonna
Make him more fucked?
So I'm like, so what your plan? Your plan's just to like not even worry about it. And he's like, at this point, if I've got it, I've got it. I'm like, well, but like, why don't you just don't push it further? And he goes, I've been inhaling cement fumes, like cement, for 20 years. And I was like, yeah. And he's like, if anything's gonna kill me, that'll kill me before the asbestos.
So what? He's taken this insurance bet on his lungs.
Yeah, he's just
And
like,
Mislav's.
and mine. I was not
Hey, you
happy.
can wear the mask if you want, mate. If you're a wimp.
I wore it for a bit, and then I just couldn't do it. I was like lifting furniture, And of course, this is the capitalist model in motion. The rich, this guy, the rich guy's just like, yeah, just go in there, and I'm there holding my breath, going like, please don't want to die.
Man, it must have been obnoxious. Me from my getaway house for that month,
Yes,
ringing you up and saying, "Is all my stuff out of there yet?"
I know.
I don't want it to get smoke damaged.
And you wonder why my job's demeaning sometimes. It's insane.
Look, you know what? Just to say this as well, Dad isn't overcompensating and just being like, "Oh, I'm so tough. I can just walk in with asbestos." He just is tough.
Yeah, he is. He's tough.
He's just such a man.
He's tough, and his back's too, right? Hasn't he got serious back problems? Like,
yeah. He just doesn't talk about it and just soldiers on.
I heard it from a different party, being like, it's hard for him to get up in the morning. I'm like, well, I believe it.
God, such boomer energy. You gotta give them. They do soldier on.
They do,
yeah, man.
They don't fuck around.
Cut from a different cloth.
It's inspiring, I'll tell you that much, because it's just like,
it inspired you to get asbestos poisoning as well.
Yes.
What a man. What a legacy.
All right, boys, we're running out of time. Should we do the MisAdventures real quick?
Yeah, I've got a plan. It's so dense, the MisAdventures this week, that I say you read half now. I'll find it. Half now, half for the up late. Because it'll take hours.
Fair.
What do you say?
All right, yeah, let's do it.
I'll just find it.
Let's do the introduction. If
This
you want to
week-
keep listening to it,
Yeah, so
then become a patron.
So don't read them all.
We won't read them all, but just so everybody knows, this is MisAdventures. We send Mislav to an adventure once a week. Last week, just in case you missed it because it was in the up late, we got him to drive up to Bathurst to get a coffee and then come back home.
Yep, it was. So
and this week, this was an audience request, so make sure that you put your requests in the comments.
So to give you an idea, look, that's the first page, and that's how much there is. I wrote like a novel.
Well, I'm glad. Makes a lot of sense. He's a learned man now, everybody.
Just so you know where halfway is, you can eye it.
Yes.
But that's the first one.
Yep.
And then that's half. So just pick it at half, and then the other half can be in the up late. I think that's a good incentive. That's how capitalism works.
This week, the reason he is learned is because we sent Mislav to university.
Hold that up. Here's an example of why. Go on him. He's just just show him.
Immediately when he walked in, he came across the Socialist Alliance, the same guys that wrangled in Ali years ago and made him the treasurer. Now Mislav,
you were the treasurer of...
Yeah,
Oh.
Mislav is now the assistant treasurer.
So we got, what is it, ACAB?
ACAB, all cops are... Of course, the starter pack really to go into university. That's just basics.
Height of intellectualism.
Fix the rental crisis, snap rally. Well, I'm sure that this snap rally that is so well advertised on this Xerox will solve the crisis that we were just mentioning before. And ladies, this is incredible. Send him to uni, and his task this week was to randomly walk in lectures and just review the lecturer.
Not just just the experience.
The experience.
Sounds so good.
I had some previews on the phone, and I have to say, I had to hang up on Mislav because I was laughing too much. So that's what he did. He just randomly walked into any lecture room and doesn't just at random just pick a mix. What's going on today? You went into 6 of them.
I went to 6 different lectures.
He stopped at 7 p.m.
I left at 7 p.m.
Good on you. You soldiered on.
I did.
He rang me afterwards, and he was just like, "My brain hurts."
I was
he
tired.
learned too much.
I was so much learning. Make sure you pick
and
it.
it made me realize as well, we are such chumps for paying to go to these lectures when you can just walk in at random and just get, like, if you want a Bachelor of Arts, that's how you do it. You just walk into any lecture at all.
Save
Just
your 40 grand.
Photovoltaics, yeah, okay, quantum theory, why not?
Wait, wasn't anyone looking at you suspiciously? Why is there a Chechnyan warfighter in our classroom?
Well, they're in the notes, but yes, a few people.
Now, they're very sympathetic to the Ukraine at the moment, so they were fine with him.
Exactly.
Now,
So you just eyeball halfway, I'd say.
all right.
Or 2/3, whatever. Leave it.
And these are Mislav's thoughts of the experience. Back to school. Going for quantum computing technology. This is started off light.
That was the first thing I saw. The first thing I saw was that, and I'm like, well, I'm not rejecting any building. That was my theory. I was like, if I see it, I go in, you know? And mind you, when I started, I didn't realize. So like, I started in like the east end of the uni, and like, they weren't the main lecture hall. So I walked into some niche at the beginning.
Clearly, man.
Yeah.
But as he says about his abilities as well, and he's right, it sounds about my speed. It's about time my country gives something back to me. Nearly walked into a tute instead of a lecture. Well, you would have gotten exposed very quickly.
I know.
Look,
First one.
you walking in, and see, the thing is, you're wearing your hat frontwards, and if you just wore it backwards, you would have been fine.
They're like, Chad.
Total camouflage.
Your camouflage during the mosque period was very good, but yeah, this one was lacking.
Yeah, shorts.
Can't find the bloody lecture halls. Maybe I can sneakily join one of these practical groups, make some flubber.
It was all like labs and stuff. Yeah.
Stumbled into the Law and Justice building. See, man, now there's a man that knows how to change disciplines. You're not getting any credit crossover for that. Look at this professional student here.
Thank you.
There's a lecture going on, but way too scared. I can't go in. A complete random, not one student, no prob an hour late into the lecture. What the did I go into? Okay, I did it. I'm in one. Some weird French teacher. I followed someone in. So you stalked students in. This 30-year-old man.
Wait, 1 second. Do you know what course it was?
Yeah, it should say.
Weird French teacher. Was she wearing glasses?
He.
Oh, okay.
He.
Yeah, there's a lot of Frenchies teaching.
Yeah.
I have no idea why. I'm 100% sure everyone here knows I don't belong here. I'm sure that you're overdressed for what you went to university in.
Maybe,
Am I right?
but dude, it was a small class. I didn't belong there.
How many people?
This one was like 30 people. I think it was a tute. I think this was a tute.
Yeah, this is not a lecture,
This
miss.
is a tute.
You walked into a tute, you idiot.
It was a tute. The first one I think was a tute. I think it was a tute.
There's two things that would have happened there. Either they just thought there is a homeless man that has walked in and we're just going to ignore it.
And follow this Asian
Or
woman in.
there is a boy genius that has walked in and he's much smarter than us and he's like so alpha that he doesn't have to wear all of the Tara cash that all the other
He's
students.
got the vape. Give me that. Sorry, go on.
I don't know what subject this is. Engineering? Something in the sciences. This honestly might be a tute as well. If he asks me a question,
It was a tute, I think, definitely.
And then it says recycling water. A presentation is due soon. Dude, I am so glad I'm not in uni. I'm stressing about an imaginary report. What? So they were saying, all right, so this is due Thursday.
Yeah.
And you just thought you were having that bad dream of like, oh man, I did a study.
It was like that. It was like that. It was like a bad acid trip the whole day. It was fucked. I was like, okay. And the report looks complicated.
Okay, now that you're just writing down what you saw on the chalkboard, are you?
Yeah.
Kinesthetic and thermodynamic data, did you use the design of the process? And then he writes, I don't think this is a Bachelor of Arts. This is getting a bit boring. I decided to bow. So you just walked out of tutorials mid.
I think I left that one. Yeah. I was like, I've got all the info I need for this class.
Dude, this is a weekend at Bernie's. You can't,
I haven't seen
can't
that.
just walk out of like, man, you're just walking in there like it's like you're Homer Simpson being like, she's some crusty old dean.
Well,
here."
yeah,
Like,
pretty
you
much.
just immediately assumed this alpha jock position of college despite not being a member.
Yes. I think I said what the faculty was. Read on.
It was the School of Electrical Engineering and Telecommunications. My God, miss. Yeah, you went to the STEM area of
Yeah.
UNSW.
Yeah, I did.
You must have been the only white man for miles. I'm famished. Time for lunch. All this education takes it out of you. What did you have for lunch?
I had the Chinese. It sucked.
Yeah, it does. Everything at
Sucked.
UNSW sucks.
I wish I got the subway. Didn't
That's
know it
why
was
everyone just eats the Max Brenner there because they're just like, well, at least like you can't go wrong with chocolate. And
dude,
oh, yes, you can.
Dude, I saw Subway and it ruined my day. I'm like, damn it. But anyway.
This is the point where he got cornered by probably the same guy wearing dreads that got you, Ale. Just got cornered by the Socialist Alliance. Some good points. Some were rubbish. One of them was a Friendlyjordies fan, then spotted me, asked, "Am I doing a MisAdventures?"
No way. No, he said this. He goes, he goes like this. He goes, "Are you still doing MisAdventures?" And I said, "I'm doing one right now. I'm on one."
That's so good. I love that.
Yeah.
He pointed me in the direction of more lecture halls. I just walked into another random lecture. Dude's talking about chunking. I think it's a lecture on importing studying methods. Question mark.
Important studying methods, yeah.
I was so bad at uni. The idea of studying again would kill me. So many laptops. And this is the best part. He is walking into quantum computing. Everyone with a laptop. And he's coming in with the Misadventure Monkey book.
Dude, you guys don't know how good these get. It gets so much better. It gets so much better.
This lecture's really for Jordan. Learning, memory capacity, etc. And then adds critical thinking after, etc. And it keeps going problem solving. You're learning like, no, actually, there's some good points in this one. This is what's amazing about this. Like originally, like every one of these misadventures has the same arc. I'm scared. Oh no, that's pretty interesting. No, all right, I've converted to Islam.
They say they're good with trees.
George and Ali both did go here. That's true. It's a primary school teacher's tute. So, my God, miss, you've done it all, haven't you? Like, you've got a sample.
Everywhere.
This was your ideal day.
Kind of. It was fun. Weird, but fun.
It's so many experiences, didn't you? You're all tuckered out at the end as well. Mm-hmm. Just ran into a lovely fella. His name was Mitch. You know enough Mitches, Mitch. You don't need another one. He's just a collector of these guys. You know that old movie where they just preserve women in these test tubes? That's what he has at home. But all these like tradies with moustaches and short shorts being like, "You want to play pool?" It's like, "Can't at the moment." "Yeah, okay, sweet." He recognised me in the tube and asked if I was studying to be a teacher. Naturally, I said yes. Here it is. When street smarts makes book smarts, street smarts wins. Yes, there's a Boost Juice on campus. Is this when you walked into a tube?
Yeah, read on.
He walked into a physics tube and they're just doing a lecture and he's sitting there obnoxiously slurping a tube. So there's just that sound of, "So anyway, as we can see, there are several different elements that we discovered like..."
I think this is where you should play that clip I sent you.
Okay.
Actually, no,
Right,
read the rest of
continue.
the page and then play that clip.
I'm surprised you were on the Boost Juice and what's it called?
Wait. Before you play it, Jordan, read first. Read the page, and then this clip is a preview to what you get if you sign up for Patreon, I guess. What was it? The extracurricular?
Yeah.
I'll play.
If you sign up, this is what you get. You eventually, at some point, we'll start. We haven't done it yet.
Yeah, but you're going to...
But we will.
No, he's back. We're going to start
We'll
doing
get vlogs. We'll get vlogs of Mislav's misadventures.
So wait, don't play it yet. Read on and then you can play it. Read the whole page.
Next tune is Political Geographies of Australia's Sovereignties, Nations, Territory.
Oh, no. That's the next one. Go on, yep.
Showing the clip of Lydia Thorpe going nuts in Parliament. Is that the one where she goes, "I pledge allegiance to the colonizer and all her hairs"?
Yeah,
It's
that was that.
heirs, Lydia.
It was that one, but this one's not that good. It's the next one that's better. But yeah, go on.
This is essentially BuzzFeed the lecture, claiming Australia has no right to exist. I had to sign up. This is... It's a good thing you went back to uni, miss. I can't read this.
They made me sign my name, but I put a different name.
Started answering questions of the lecture. This might also be a truth. Now, the rest of this we are going to put in the upload, but I just want to focus. Okay, but can we just zoom in on this? I know this one's going late, but Ali, you really need to understand what a great endorsement you and this podcast is. Everyone that's listening to this right now, you listening to this podcast, you are getting a far better education on Australian politics than people that spend 40 grand at university for it.
You know why?
Why is that?
So I was in this lecture, right? No one was answering questions. I answered like 7.
No way.
Yeah.
What questions were there?
It was all about different political, like it was talking about local governments. It was like, who can say who this is? And no one was answering. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Anastasia Palaszczuk. She's like, very good. And then she was just like, who can talk about like, who knows anything about Dave Andrews. And I was just like, and I was waiting for everyone. She's like, anyone knows how long his term was? And I was just, it has been. And then I was like, no one's answering. I'm like, I don't know, like, I was just, I think I said like 5 years. I was just answering questions. She was like, very bright student there.
Isn't that amazing?
Giving me compliments.
Giving you compliments. You just walked in randomly to a lecture. And this is incredible because like if you are a new listener, just know this. This is an ongoing joke of this podcast that once I got Mislav to do a political video and I got him to ring up someone in Labor and then he said, so you guys are the LNP, right? Which is the Liberal National Party.
Starts with L.
Their arch nemesis.
Starts with L.
Yeah, it starts with L. And so from then on, we've been calling him the chief political correspondent of Friendlyjordies.
Chief political editor.
Sorry, my word. Like he's above all the other correspondents. He's keeping them in line with his extensive knowledge. We're always making fun of him for his lack of Australian political knowledge. And even him was trouncing over all these students and the lecturer.
It was crazy.
At university, he knew more than the lecturer.
7 questions I answered.
That's crazy.
Isn't that is the best endorsement for this podcast's existence I've ever heard.
What is this lecture where they're like, how long was Dan Andrews' term?
Yeah, that kind of shit. And there was all these questions about just all this stuff about Australia, and I nailed it.
Insane.
He's been studying for 5 years for that test, and it paid off.
But read the next one because that's the video. I think that's the next one.
Okay, but I just need to say that it is hilarious that random 30-year-old bald man walked in and the lecturer is this old chick from Balmain with spectacles that adjusts them and says to Mislav, I think you'll have a promising career in politics, young man.
And I'm like, thanks. Here, I'll sign my name. I just put my brother's.
All right, ended up answering a bunch of political questions. No one was answering. Felt bad for the teacher. And the best thing, obviously he hates it because it's just like, it is truly like when 2GB is always asking, what are they teaching kids in uni? Well, Mislav knows. And let's be honest, it's SJW points badly expressed. That's what they're learning. That's their education. It's scary. It's actually really scary. But anyway, so obviously Mislav hated this teacher, but he still felt bad for her because of how bad she's like Mia Dawkins all over again, you know? Like
her out.
And then I chimed in with all of the classics. Palaszczuk, Dave Andrews, Papua New Guinea. So they didn't even know that Papua New Guinea...
She was like, what's the main region that Australia controls out of like Australia? And no one said anything. And I was like, Papua New Guinea? She's like, very good.
So then he walks out of that feeling cock of the walk. The immediate ducks of the class.
Yeah.
Walks out and then says, damn it, there's a sick-looking lecture on Mars happening, but it looks completely full.
Oh shit, we got to do a few more pages.
No, we can't. We got to go to it.
No. A few more. We have to.
Okay.
We have to. This and the next one.
I made it into the Mars one. Yes. Damn. You and that movie about the Martian.
Go on.
I think this class of kids is literally flying to Mars. All the slides are of rockets to Mars, schematics, prototypes of rockets. I'm going to Mars, boys. Dude, it's that Lemmy sketch of Dee Dee, like in the cardboard box go to space.
Read on.
This unit is called Laboratory Workshop Introduction. These nerds are literally building functional robots to fly to Mars. Sick. See, this is another point that he made. Like, it's so true. Guys, what conservatives say about university is so true. Like, really, STEM subjects should be completely subsidised by the government. And if you're stupid enough like Ali and I to do like a Bachelor of Arts...
And me, I have a BA.
We all should be paying full price. The government should be subsidising a cent to learn this shit. Because he was just saying it. It's such a good contradiction. He was just like, when you go into them, you realise you are walking out of a university lecturer when you go to the STEM subjects. You're walking out of university, tertiary education. And when you go to arts, you're walking into a YouTube video.
It's a bad YouTube video.
Bad YouTube video.
But do this one, the next one, then we'll finish because you got to do it.
The lecturer seems to be the head of FB or some tech millionaire. It's only hit me now how hilarious this situation is. Just now.
Yeah.
You should not be learning how to build robots to go to Mars.
Oh my God.
Your former housemate should be. I'm in a lecture of groups of buildings, robots for Mars exploration. I clearly don't belong in here. I'm not in anyone's group because I'm not actually doing this course. I'm Kramer at this job. Lol. I wish I did this course. Best Mars project winner of UNSW. What are you talking about?
I don't know.
You just got too excited.
Yeah, go on.
He's literally flashing up the team names now. I'm literally Mr. Burns in school. So everyone else there was 18.
Yeah.
I really hope he doesn't decide to break us into groups right now. I can't stop giggling to myself. And then he writes in capitals, "This is retarded."
Go on.
But
Go
they
on.
are not.
Go on,
Okay,
go
but I just, writing this down in this book right now in a class for robotic sciences. Fuck, I'm tired. Learning really takes it out of you. When are we getting to the... When are we getting to the boost? We can't miss. You just keep saying the next one.
No, like the next class, I mean. Just keep going.
Okay,
There's heaps more.
Laser cutting, 3D printing and binding. The dude said I wasn't expecting so many people here. I don't have enough task sheets for you all. Man, I should have done this nerdy. Looks fun as He's going through the safety requirements now. The kid next to me starts reading my notes. He's on to me. Better stop writing for now. Okay, I got my boost juice and walked into another random class. Let's watch this. Might have to be the last class.
It's not.
What is this number? 4 or 5 of the day? I think this is a design course or something. South American teacher. Let the insanity continue.
This is the one that you have to read.
Now, put it on.
Read it and then
Read it and then I'll put it on.
This is the course is called Photovoltaic and Renewable Energy Engineering, Applied Photovoltaic. So he's learning how to build Tesla batteries. Today's lesson is PV system components. An easy one to start off with. Well, I had an introduction to engineering earlier today. I'm sure I'm up to speed. Damn, these kids are smart. Interesting to get an insight into a real university degree. Also, once again, quite ridiculous that I'm here writing this in this absolutely fried book. Now do we play?
Keep going.
No, miss. Okay, just play it. We're in the place. We watch this. We've got to keep some for the upload.
Well, anyway, I write about how funny it is that I'm drinking a boost in this class.
Here we go.
Depending on the discharge rate, that capacity withdrawn could be different.
I know you can't hear this, but...
So these two terms are very, very frequently used.
This is insane.
Depth of discharge. So let's consider this is a capacity of battery, right? That's on this cylindrical. Probably you don't get batteries like this. Most of the batteries like this. But anyway, let's say this represents the 100% capacity of battery. And as you use the battery, if you use the charge battery, we extract the charge out of that, right? So the percentage of the capacity that's withdrawn from the battery is called just the depth of discharge. So for example, if we extract 40%
you hear it, Jordan?
of the capacity, so depth of discharge is 40%, and state of charge is just 1 minus that. So 40 is out, 60 still remains. So what remains is the state of charge. So in case of the latest
The monkey put.
So I explained that more, but if you want to go to the update, that you'll have to sign up to see.
We're going to the update.
It gets way better. It gets more insane. Believe me, it gets.
Well, that's a great teaser. Make sure that you sign up for that. And if you have a job that you would like Mislav to help you out on, let us know. Write to the podcast email.
Work experience.
If you have to be in Sydney, we're going to give Mislav work experience. And there's going to be a reverse of MisAdventures where you are going to grade him on his performance at the job.
That sounds so... Dude, Mislav. Round of applause.
Well done. Well done. He's far more educated than us now. He has 7 or 8 degrees.
Thank you for joining us this week.
Join the Up Lake, trust me.
Appreciate your love and support, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.